afternoon, my friends. It's good to be here with you today and not with you. Today is June the 18th. It's a somber day. That's a word I'll just use. It's cloudy, threatening rain, but it's a good day. It's a day filled with beauty and wonder like every other day that God has made. Welcome to this moment, these 15 minutes of reflection and conversation. I'm Pastor Lou. I am the pastor here in this community, the Franklin Lakes Presbyterian Church, the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, which is a merger of the Franklin Lakes Presbyterian Church and the First Pres of North Haledon a few years ago now. We usually gather here, right in this space, but we gather now in this way. Starting from the beginning of this pause in our way of life around the world, I decided that I would try to do this every day. 15 minutes of conversation, 15 minutes of looking into the moment with you. I always have a seat here for you. I like to imagine that you're here and I'm talking with you. Many of you, I know your circumstances. Some of you I've never met, but I'm glad that you're here to listen along and to be a part of our conversation today. So it's June the 18th, which is positioned between June the 17th. Days take on significance for a variety of reasons. Birthdays, anniversaries, remembrances of deaths and people we've lost, as well as beautiful reminders of things that have happened. But today in particular, partly because of the elevated awareness of what's going on around us, I'm very aware that today, June 18th, is situated between two other kinds of anniversaries. One is it's the day before June 19th, and that's Juneteenth. And I think, in particular, the white community is hearing more in this contemporary time about Juneteenth, which is the official marking of the end of legality of slavery. Or the practice of slavery in the United States. A war was fought, and there were winners and losers, but the issue of slavery, which was large in the minds of many people, was that slavery had to be abolished. Certainly Abraham Lincoln was in favor of that, and then the Congress enacted the Emancipation Proclamation, which made slavery illegal in the United States. But it was on June 19th, some weeks later, that the official pronouncement and the official enactment of the law and the change of the law became real. And it has, in the black community, is not unknown, but in the white community, at least in my whiteness, I wasn't even aware of Juneteenth until an African-American member of my congregation educated me on it a couple of years ago, and we celebrated on that day. I think the celebration for Juneteenth this year will be a big event, but maybe some members of the white and brown peoples of various colors will pay more attention because of the environment. I don't know. Anyway, I'm paying attention. June 19th, one bookend. On the other bookend is June 17th. Yesterday, actually last night, was the 5th year anniversary of a massacre that took place in a church, Mother Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. It was 5 years ago. I say last night because there was a Bible study, a gathering in church. It was a Wednesday night, and the church was gathered. Some members of the church were gathered, and so they were in prayer. A stranger, a white man in a predominantly black church, had joined them. and they welcomed him. He sat with them. He sat right next to one of the three pastors that were part of that gathering. There was some time of study and sharing, and at the end it was to be closed with a word of prayer. And when they bowed their head and closed their eyes to pray, this one young white man pulled out his guns and he killed as many of them as he could. 9 people died that night. 3 pastors from the church. Most of them died immediately. A couple of them were taken to the hospital and died there. There were 3 survivors. It's a day I remember because it changed my world. Just like this virus has changed my sense of the world. It has. It's changed the way I think about our vulnerability to each other. But that day, 5 years ago, changed the way we think about church. And is church safe? It changed everybody. We started putting panic buttons in the pulpits. The police came by and gave us a safety assessment for how our church is built and structured. Excuse me one moment, I hear another piece of technology is insisting to speak. Sorry. Things happen. I mean, events take place, and they leave an indelible mark on your life. That event 5 years ago left a mark. It reminded me of the Christmas season where those children were all shot in school up in New England, and that left an indelible mark too in terms of how we thought about safety for our children in the preschool. But that 5 years ago left a real question about how safe are we when we're in church. And there were a variety of other events too that took place that raised the same question. How do we provide safety in an environment where we can come in and bow our heads and pray and let our guard down? You know, if you listen to me, it's a theme of mine is how do we try to raise awareness of the need for safety in church. And that night, that young man, I won't say his name, that young man came into that church and he murdered those 9 people because they were black. That's the only reason that he was there, and it's the only reason that he killed them. He's in prison today for the rest of his life and has no remorse, no regret. He even said that he killed those people, those innocent people. He killed them because of the color of their skin. But the issue of church safety is not just about racism or white supremacists who believe their only salvation is the genocide of another race. It's about safety in general. It's about safety for synagogues and for mosques and about Presbyterian churches, Methodist churches, Christian churches. How do we provide a place that is safe? And this COVID virus raises the issue again. Many people keep asking, when will we regather? And my church leadership says when we believe it's safe. And even when we come back, it won't be safe. We realize it wasn't safe to do many of the things that we had done before. This issue of church safety has come up from time to time. It's a smaller issue, but we learned to tell people in the choir not to put their purses in the robing room. People actually studied the patterns of churches, and they found that a lot of the women who were singing in the choir felt that the robing room for the choir room was a safe place to leave their purse. And so once church was underway and the choir was sealed nicely in the sanctuary and everyone's attention was this way, people would come in the back door and they would go into the choir robing room and they would take out of the purses everything that was of value. It wasn't safe. So we've had to remind people that we try to accomplish creation of a safe space, but human beings, we're very fragile. We're very vulnerable. We want and need security. We do. It's hard. It's very hard when you get the lesson that says where you thought you were safe, you're not safe. It doesn't mean you can't go there. It doesn't mean that you can't be there. It's just an awareness. It's just a heightened awareness. You can't assume. You just can't. It's a hard lesson for me, and I'm one of those people, I just push that kind of learning away. When the police came and did an assessment of our safe practices here for our sanctuary, I was appreciative of what they were doing. I was, somewhat annoyed. It felt extreme. They can't do that. They were aware, I'm sorry, my throat is a little froggy today. They were telling us that one portion of our building was on the level plane with the driveway, the road, and that would allow a car, if someone was angry, to just crash right in. And they suggested that we put up what's called those New Jersey barricades, and that we put them around. They were right, but they're not there. Today, I pray for my sisters and brothers, especially in faith, in communities of faith, that we would be safe. Keep us safe. I know that we'll be reminded, if not today or tomorrow, we will be reminded of all the places where we're not safe. We want to be safe. We want to be safe so badly that we will live into the idea that we're safe when we're not. And I do it, you'll do it too. We take risks. You have to live, right? You have to. There's a value in taking risks. But this is a season where we need to reset the calibrations. We need to rethink how we live and how we do things together and what levels of risk are worth it. What kinds of secure measures can we take without destroying our freedom? The High Mountain Presbyterian Church, the leadership will have to make a decision at some point when we will return and how we will return to physical gatherings together. It won't be when we know we're absolutely safe. But it also won't be when we know we're taking unnecessary risks. And my hope is for you, for where you are, that you will be able to recalibrate to what risks there are. Be safe. Be safe. As safe as you can be. And in that, I pray that the words of that beautiful duet, Our Prayer, just keep us safe. And that's my prayer to God today, to God's ears. Help us to be safe, to keep ourselves safe, to protect and guard each other, to provide not callous hearts, but to be aware of the things that have compromised other people's sense of safety. There's so much in so many areas where I feel completely safe. And there are so many areas in this society, in this world, where so many people live every day in fear of their lives. And every now and then someone comes along and wants to push the button to remind us that we're not safe. I cried. I actually wept that day, or the couple of days following when there was a funeral. The pastors that were murdered and one child that was there. I wept. I wept for them. I wept for us. I wept for the human beings on this planet. There's so many things, natural things, that threaten our lives, and we seem to go around scouring for reasons to threaten each other or to find ways to find threats. The virus is bad enough, and we're working together to protect and defend each other in the world from its effects. And we're taking steps ourselves, I hope, to limit our activity in case we are carriers, or to limit our activity in case we have the disease. We don't want to get this disease. Lord, keep us safe. Keep each other safe. And because when we know safety, we know life. We know its full joy. And providing safety for someone else is a great and wonderful mission in life. So, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts today for the bookends of June 17th and June 19th. And what rises out between the bookends is my prayer for you on this June 18th, that you will find safety and know it to be true. Thank you, my friends. It's good to talk to you today and good to share this time with you. It's Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow.